What's up, everyone? Welcome to Jace's Own World. Thanks for tuning into my channel. I appreciate it. Today I'm going to talk to you about the DKM Stage 2 MB clutch that I just installed in my car. But before I do that, I'm going to give you some background of the clutch that I had in my car before I put this clutch in, which was ironically the DKM Stage 2 MB clutch. So tune in with me and I'll talk to you about the new one that I just put in. Alright, so some background. I originally had a DKM Stage 2 MB clutch, and I put about 50,000 miles on the clutch, and so I got a pretty good use out of that clutch. Single mass flywheel, organic disc, holds about 440 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels. Yeah, I love that clutch. It lasted me about 50,000 miles. So when it started slipping, I knew that either I was just going to go with the same clutch or I was going to get a different one. Obviously, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I decided to do some searching, and really, I'm not really like a DKM fanboy or anything like that. That's not it. The real reason why I have chosen to go with the DKM Stage 2 MB clutch again is because of the price. It's about $850 online for the entire kit, which includes the pressure plate, the disc, the flywheel, the throwout bearing, and the alignment tool. So that's a whole clutch kit, which is pretty cheap for $850, considering that a dual mass flywheel from the factory alone is over 400 bucks. Sometimes you can get it on sale for just under 400, but it's usually over $400, and then you have to get the rest of the kit itself too. So considering that the DKM comes with everything, $850 is a bargain in my opinion. Now, the reasons why I stayed with the DKM Stage 2 MB clutch, there's three main reasons. Number one is crank walk issues. Number two is price. And number three, which mostly relates to me in my experience, but number three is reliability and longevity. So let's talk about crank walk issues. So I was considering getting the DKM Stage 3 twin disc clutch, the South Bend Stage 3 Endurance clutch, and the HS Tuning clutch kit. I was considering those three. The crank walk issue that a lot of people were having, I wouldn't say a lot, but a higher percentage of people were having crank walk issues with the DKM Stage 3 twin disc. Now, to me, it's a big deal. I can't really afford to replace my engine if that ever happens. So to me, I just, that it's just peace of mind not going that route. Yes, I do know that there are some people with South Bend and BFI and other clutch kits, even the OEM clutch kits or even the OEM clutches. I know some people are getting crank walk, but it's very, very, very low percentage compared to those who are using the DKM twin disc setup Stage 3. I don't know why. I'm not familiar with why it happens. I just know that the clutch, the DKM Stage 3 twin disc clutch, holds so much torque and it grabs so hard that that's possibly the issue why the crank bearing cannot hold the amount of force that thing is grabbing, and hence failing. So that's the only thing I know about that, but I didn't want to have to deal with that in the future. I can't afford it. And so let's go on to the next reason why I chose the DKM Stage 2 over the other ones. Number two reason, price. For $850, it's such a good deal for the DKM Stage 2. Almost everything else that has good relationships with customers as far as reviews are concerned, like South Bend, RSR, they're all over $1,000. The South Bend one is like $1,700. The DKM Stage 3 is around $1,400 or $1,500. The RSR one, no, not the RSR or the HS tuning, I forget which one it was, but either way, it was around $1,100 or $1,200. That's a significant jump in money for a clutch kit. I was considering them though, because knowing that they hold more torque than the DKM Stage 2, I was considering getting it. If a clutch kit can hold more torque, you would think that it would last longer, right? You would think it would be a one and done type of thing, and that you wouldn't have to get another clutch kit for a very long time. So because of that, I started to search. I started to search on the forums to see if there was any users of these clutches that had put on a good amount of miles, meaning over 50,000 miles, because that's what I put on my DKM Stage 2 originally. And so I went into the forums to search for people who, you know, have had these clutches last a long time. I wasn't able to find anybody. There were a lot of people that said it's going really strong, 10, 20,000 miles, 30,000 miles. One guy on the HS tuning clutch said it's lasted him 40,000 miles with no problems. And that's all great, but for a clutch kit that is double the price, give or take, you know, some of the DKM Stage 2 clutch, I would hope that at least it's lasting 70, 80,000 miles. And there isn't a single person on the forums that I can find that has this longevity in those clutches. Hopefully there are some people, and hopefully it just takes some time for them to come around and let other people know. But as of right now, I wasn't going to sacrifice my bank account and spending a lot more money for a clutch kit that's not going to last longer than my original DKM one. So that was reason number 3, that I didn't go with any of those clutches, because I have experience with the DKM Stage 2. I like the feel. I understand what it can do and how long it can last according to my driving style. So if I didn't find another clutch kit that was more expensive, that had the same characteristics, then I wasn't going to buy it. It just didn't make sense to spend the money on something that wasn't going to last. You know, to me, it just doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. All right, so since I got that out of the way of the reason why I decided to get the DKM Stage 2 again, let's talk about the install and the differences between the first DKM kit that I got 50,000 miles ago, or around over 2 years ago, and the one that came with it now. So the nice thing about DKM is they pay attention to the details that the customers are complaining about. Meaning, the original throwout bearing that came with this car that they provided was made out of plastic. And a lot of users were having issues with that plastic one failing and leaking, causing clutch issues with their car. And so they have looked into that and decided to make, I don't know if they make it personally or if it's from LUK or anything like that, but they decided to change that out so that their customers have a quality piece. And the quality piece that's in there, the throwout bearing, is made 100% out of metal. There's no more plastic on it, which is awesome because it is way firmer, way nicer, and everything around is better than the plastic one. Now granted, the plastic one that came with mine in my last kit never had an issue, so I was one of the lucky ones, which was awesome. And I never had any issues with my clutch or anything like that, like a lot of the other customers have. But it's nice to have this metal piece. So the kit came with the metal throwout bearing, which is nice. And the differences that I did with this install, I also want to let you know that I installed the clutch myself both times. and it's not that hard of a job, but it can be tiring. We did it on jack stands, and we just muscled the transmission in and out with our muzzle, not with a transmission jack. It's easier that way in my opinion, but you can do it at home. It just is tiring. Just take the full day off, do it. So anyways, but let's talk about what I did different with the clutch install this time. I also decided to get the iAbed, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but the iAbed rear main seal for this car. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I bought it online when I bought all the stuff for the clutch install, because when I took the belly pan off, I did notice that my OEM rear main seal was leaking. Who knows, that could have been one of the reasons why my clutch went bad sooner than it did in 50,000 miles. And hopefully this new one lasts longer than 50,000 miles. But it was leaking, so when I did the install, I installed the iAbed rear main seal as well, which was a pretty simple install. It's just another thing to do on there, so it's kind of tiring. And being 6'5", getting down on the floor, up and down all the time is just tiring for me, and it hurts my back. And then going inside the car with minimal space is just tiring. But the rear main seal was not a hard install. I decided to get the rear main seal installation tool, which really helped. But if you don't have the installation tool, there's a little lip on it where there's videos online on YouTube that you can watch of that little lip, and you don't want to have that little lip like flip forward, or you're going to have a rear main seal leak eventually. So make sure you install that properly. But let's get back to the clutch install itself. So the thing that I did differently with this install compared to the first time I installed this clutch is I decided to pre-bleed the throwout bearing. And it's really simple. You just put the tip in a little jar full of brake fluid, and you just pump the throwout bearing, and that's pre-bleeding it. Really simple, really easy. But doing the pre-bleeding definitely helped when it came time to actually bleed the clutch after the install was almost finished. The first time around, I did not pre-bleed the throwout bearing, and when it came time to bleed the clutch, my clutch pedal would just drop to the floor. I would have someone undo the cap up in the front to the slave cylinder and bleed it, and then I would pump the clutch, keep doing that until the clutch actually would come up on its own. That's how you bleed a clutch. But this time around, because I did pre-bleed it, I didn't have to do anything like that. Like, we still did it, we still bled it, twisted the knob 3 times, clutch in, but right from the get-go, my clutch was coming straight up to the top right from the get-go. So I highly recommend anyone doing this job to pre-bleed your throwout bearing. It will be so nice when it comes time to bleeding your clutch, trust me. So that was really the only main difference that I did with this clutch install. I guess one of the other things is I torqued down the flywheel bolts more than what the factory recommends on DKM, because the first time I installed it, I always thought that the torque specs for the flywheel bolts was just not enough. And I had this thing in the back of my mind saying, I should have torqued those down more than what it recommended. So I decided to torque them down a little more. And so hopefully that helps out with the long run too. But those are the only 2 things that I really did differently, is pre-bleeding the throwout bearing and torquing down the flywheel bolts more than what DKM recommends. But other than that, everything else was great. Now when it came time to actually bleed the clutch, we did it, and I noticed that the pedal feel was significantly lighter than the first time I did the clutch over 2 years ago. Significantly lighter. Insane. Now I don't know if that's because I pre-bled the throwout bearing, or if it's because the throwout bearing is made out of metal instead of plastic now, I really do not know. But the pedal feel is so much better this time. DKM, you are awesome. I'm just telling you, man. I'm telling you guys, the pedal feel is amazing right off the bat. The first time I did this clutch, the pedal was so stiff that it was almost like a 2000 Cobra Terminator pedal, if any of you have felt that. It's a really stiff clutch. And right off the bat, it was super stiff, and it took, a few weeks for it to soften up. I mean, a few 100 miles, because it was just so stiff. This time around, it's like perfect feel right off the bat. It's awesome. I'm still breaking in the clutch right now. I have about 275 miles on the clutch, still breaking it in, and I love it. The pedal feels amazing. So yeah, I highly recommend this Stage 2 DKM clutch kit for those who are looking into clutch kits. Pedal feels great. It's awesome. Let's talk about break-in period. So break-in period, like I just said, I'm about 275 miles on the new clutch, so I'm still breaking it in. What you want to do, what DKM recommends, I believe, is 500 miles to break it in, but I'm going to do more like 1,000 miles of break-in period, just for peace of mind for me, knowing that it is properly broken in. And then what you want to do on break-in is you don't want to rev any of your gears higher than 3,000 RPMs, and you want to go through your gears frequently, meaning you're going to be in city driving, not highway driving, but you're going to do a lot of city driving. A lot of first, second, third, fourth gear, and then a lot of upshifting. Not as much engine braking, but a lot of upshifting when it comes to lights. You can pop it into neutral when you come to stops, that's fine. But just make sure you're shifting a lot, that you're pressing the pedal all the way down so that it's getting its full range of motion. So that's break-in period. You don't want to walk on it, just drive it like a grandma, as other people have said. Now let's talk about pedal engagement and pedal feel. Right now, 275 miles in, pedal feel is amazing. It grabs really hard. It's nice to feel a clutch that's grabbing again, because my clutch was slipping so bad for like the last month that I just couldn't do anything with the car. It sucked. But man, this road is bumpy. Jeez, just noticing. But the pedal feel is great. The engagement is great. It engages at the very bottom of the clutch travel, which is really nice. Maybe an inch from the bottom of the floor. So it's very sensitive, like right there. And I have stalled it a few times already. But, let's see, you're looking for Verizon. But it's awesome because a clutch is working properly when it's engaging at the bottom of the pedal, and not at the top. That means the clutch is pretty much going out. But yeah, so I love the engagement. It's very sensitive, but it's very usable. It's very light. The pedal feels really light compared to last time. Like, it feels exactly the same all 275 miles of it so far. It wasn't really stiff, so it's just awesome. I can't wait to break it in so I can, actually get on the car and drive it like it's meant to be. So yeah, so this is me saying, get the DKM Stage 2. If you're weary of it, don't be. If you're IS38 like I am, or lower, like Stage 2 IS20, get it. It's going to be a great clutch for your needs. The pedal feels great. Let's talk about the chatter for a minute, though. There is some chatter. It's single mass flywheel. If you don't want chatter, just get dual mass flywheel. If you don't want chatter, do not get single mass flywheel. That you're just going to have chatter. Every single mass flywheel clutch is going to have chatter. But the chatter is not that loud when the AC is off. Even with the windows down and music off, it's not that loud. And I have never had a single person come up to me and say, "What's wrong with your car?" If you're thinking, people are going to do that, it just never happens. It's never happened to me. I've had the car for almost 4 years now, and have had a single mass flywheel clutch for going on 3 years. So don't worry about that. But there is some chatter with the AC on, so if you don't want that chatter, just get a dual mass flywheel setup. But it's not super annoying to where it's going to ruin your life and you're going to get depressed like the internet makes it out to be sometimes. It's just not that way. Just deal with it. It is what it is. But I'd much rather have a single mass flywheel that doesn't have as much rev hang than the dual mass flywheel has, and have my shifts faster because of it. I'd much rather have, you know, chatter and have a better operating clutch, if you know what I'm getting to. So I highly recommend the DKM Stage 2 MB clutch. Like I said, I'm not sponsored by DKM. I'm not anything. I have just had 2 of their kits and they both have worked really good. Granted, I've only had 275 miles on this car, 280 now, since talking with you guys, but I do not, I guarantee you it's going to last just as long as my other DKM MB Stage 2 clutch. And for the price, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. So I highly recommend it. Some people love South Bend. I would have got South Bend too if they just weren't so dang expensive. They're just, for a Volkswagen GTI, to spend $1,500 plus on a clutch is insanity to me. Seriously, insanity to me. That's just my opinion, guys. So don't take it as anything else more than that. But that's just a very expensive clutch for a car it's just a GTI. I love the car, but it's just a GTI. It's not a Porsche, So that's just my feeling about it. But for $850, it's totally worth it. And I highly recommend it. So thanks for tuning into my video here. Thanks for bearing with me with this long video. I know it's not really anything, just me talking. And I would love to give a little more, I would love to emphasize a little more stuff into my videos, but sometimes we just talk about stuff. But go out and do your own research on whatever clutch kits you want to get. If you want to tackle the job yourself, do it. It's a good learning experience for knowing how to do a clutch. Plus you can say you've done a clutch in your lifetime, which is cool. And then that way you also get to see exactly what went wrong with your old clutch, which is kind of why I like to do stuff myself, because I know exactly what went wrong, and maybe I can try to prevent it in the future. So yeah, thanks for watching my video. If you like this video, please like it. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel. That really helps me out. If you want to subscribe, that would be awesome. And if you want to hit that notification bell, that would be awesome too. So look into other videos. I have a lot of other videos on how-tos, especially wastegate stuff, and then other things I've done with my car. And so check it out. Thanks for watching. Peace.